of what our responsibilities were, and I pointed out what we should be doing. And I still maintain that we should be doing an equality impact assessment for giving out this work to a contractor. We have not yet heard from the town clerk in her inquiries about what our responsibilities are, and I would like it noted that I believe we are still liable to complete an equality impact assessment that we have not done. On the occasion, which was the 3rd of March, and I point that date out very carefully, the 3rd of March, I pointed out to the entire council what we should be doing and what the guidelines are regarding these equality impact assessments. Unfortunately, my attention was steered away by, on the 5th of March, having a code of conduct complaint made against me. Quite largely because of what I've been saying regarding this equality assessments. And I take particular exception to that. Now, I've made my point that I don't want to go on about that anymore, but we still have to clear up what we're meant to do with these equality impact assessments. Now, I'm going to page 13 of the minutes. And at point 73, it says at the bottom of that, this is regarding the motion that I put to the council, which was motion number 65. It says, following a vote, the proposal was not carried. Now, the problem that I have with this is it's utterly ambiguous. I don't know whether we're saying the motion was not carried, or the fact that the council decided they didn't want to stay after 10 o'clock. And I think that that needs to be clarified and made clear to, in the minutes, what it's referring to. Okay? Right, that's all I have to say on that particular subject.
Okay, Councillor Heap is the next hand up.
Thank you. This relates to page 10, minute 81, the survey that Councillor Sanjari was going to conduct with the schools. Obviously, we've been affected by COVID, but it was going to be online. So I wondered what progress we'd had with that.
What page was that?
Page 10, minute 81.
Okay. Yes, the survey was completely completed and was ready to go with the two local schools to look at before it gets put to students, and for any edits made to make sure that the head teachers were happy for the students to complete these. I had meetings with both head teachers lined up, but because of the emerging crisis with the pandemic, that was put back. So yeah, the priority is for the students to complete it. One of the disappointments that I had was that without consultation, the provider, Jack, I was told should be involved in the survey. That wasn't consulted with me, and it was again done behind the scenes. And I feel that it's a completely compromising position for the person who receives a considerable amount of money to do the work, to be involved in what should be an independent survey going out by schools. In the 20 years that Jack has had this contract, they've never, to my knowledge, carried out any surveys for the people that they're supposed to be reaching out to and doing this work. And this was a point that I raised at the last council meeting about the issue of auditing. So I feel that it would completely compromise the youth survey. We haven't got anywhere. And on another disappointing element of that that needs to be raised is that Councillor Baker wrote on a public forum Facebook group that the Youth Partnership Committee had commissioned a survey and put money aside for it. Now, that was completely not discussed again with anyone on the Community Youth Partnership. It was made very clear. I think Councillor Heap, you asked the question about surveying young people as well. Well, you raised the point that it was a tiny proportion in the Woodley survey of young people, and it was something that, again, it was the point that I came onto the council to really look at. It was youth provision, and I asked for a youth survey to be carried out and was told that it's very, very costly and it's unlikely that it would go ahead. So when I joined the Community Youth Partnership, I offered to carry out the survey, and it was done in good faith and with the agreement of everyone else on the committee. To then be told that the committee was paying for it, well, obviously I was doing it completely for free, and so was the person whose expert advice I'd got was doing it on the proviso that this was free. To then have it publicised that there was money put aside for this, again, completely not what was discussed with anyone on the youth committee. And so the two things that kind of delayed the process, if you like, was working out who had decided that Jack should be involved in this youth survey, given that they are in receipt of money, and that's a massive conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned. And it's about an issue of integrity of the survey and the integrity of the council, as well as this nominal amount, I don't know how much, has been set aside for this survey that I was never told about. Bearing in mind this survey was completely my suggestion. I volunteered myself to do it because I felt it was really important that we survey the young people in our community. But it's been completed for this time. I have been working with councillors to look at it, and I wanted it to go through the head teachers before it goes back to the Community Youth Partnership for them to approve. But obviously, because of COVID, they asked if we could rearrange the meetings, but they were all in the diary.
Thank you.
Councillor Jewell was next, Chair, with a hand up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. It was two items. One was item 72, which was the motion, Martin's motion, and I'd like to know when that is likely to be discussed, please. And the second one was on the, oh no, the second one's a bit later on, so forget that, just the one item.
Sorry, what was your question?
It was asking when the Martin's motion 67 and items 72 and 73 would be coming up for discussion at which meeting.
If I can help there, it would normally come to the next meeting. The only reason it's not at this one is due to the amount of things that we have to get through in this meeting to sign off the accounts, which is a statutory requirement for us, and to try and put that item in and give it the airing that it deserves would have been an extreme challenge for this meeting. So the next meeting of full council it would come to, I can't tell you exactly when that is, but we will be making arrangements for that as soon as obviously this one's out of the way, so to speak.
Thank you, Kevin.
Councillor Baker was next with a hand up, Chair.
Next, Keith Baker.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's unfortunate and blatantly unfair to make allegations about the town clerk when she's not here to actually refute them. I can say to Councillor Swaddle there that absolutely the Community Youth Partnership did discuss the payment of the survey. I was physically there. I don't have the minutes available, but what I'm going to ask Kevin to do is to look back over this, I think it's being recorded, over this conversation and extract the relevant points that Councillor Nada has actually made and ask that the town clerk responds to them. I can actually categorically deny Jack has been asked to do a survey. They have categorically deny, and this is on record, that Jack has been paid to do the survey. What actually is happening is they have done their own survey, which was nothing to do with this town council. And I'm sure that the town clerk will confirm that in writing, that is the case. But I think it is unfortunate that certain things, allegations are being implied around the town clerk, and I don't think that's fair.
Okay, Councillor Doyle has a hand up next, Chair.
Yeah, I'm not making allegations, I'm making statements of fact. I was reported to Wokingham Borough by the town clerk, who wrote to Wokingham Borough making a code of conduct complaint. That's not an allegation. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. It is a fact. Okay, and it was made 2 days after I wrote to the entire council pointing out that they should be abiding by the public sector equality duty. And I don't think that is a coincidence.
Councillor Sanjari's hand up next, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I haven't made any allegations. Councillor Baker, if you can tell me how much money then has been agreed to pay for this survey, and who was it going to pay for? Because like I said, the first I'd heard of there being a payment for a survey was on a Facebook group, a local Woodley Chat Facebook group. So if I was the person carrying out the survey with the help of someone who writes surveys, who was doing it free of charge, because it was a community project, I'd like to know how much money was set aside and to whom. There was I've made no allegations. I was sent an email to say that Sam Milligan, who is either the CEO or chair of Jack, would like to be involved in the survey, and I didn't feel that was appropriate. So there's no allegations being made against anyone. If you know how much money has been set aside for the survey and who that was going to be paid to, I'd like to know, because that was not discussed.
Councillor Rowland has a hand up, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. Excuse me. Councillor Baker, I'm not sure if you said this meeting is being recorded. I don't think it is, because you need the permission of all present to do that. And I can't see the recording mark come up. It's a shame in a way, because it helps with minutes, but I don't think it is.
If I can just help. We would normally stream it onto the YouTube channel, which technically records it. It's not doing that. It won't let me do that today. But the content is being recorded on the Zoom cloud for the purposes of minutes. I did miss the start of it. Apologies for that, because I was trying to deal with a number of things. So I'm not sure exactly what point that started. Councillor Baker has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you. To answer Councillor Nada's question, I don't know, but it's another one for the town clerk to provide you with that information. And I request that all the responses from the town clerk on all these contentious questions are actually circulated, put on record and circulated around to all councillors. So it's total transparency. And can I just say to Councillor, I'm having Doyle, sorry, Martin. I wasn't accusing you of an allegation whatsoever. It was other people. And apologies if you took it that way.
Okay, have we finished then? No, are there any other points about the minutes? Then can I propose that we resolve to approve the minutes or accept the minutes? Can I have a show of hands? If I can find the hands.
Okay, that's agreed.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to the next point, the urgency committee. The minutes of the urgency committee. Oh, the item 8. So I can find it. Here we are on page 16. Are there any issues with this? Have people read through this? So need to approve the seal. So I propose that we accept the receive the minutes. So can I have a show of hands, please, for those prepared to accept them, to receive the minutes? Find the hand button.
Okay, that's agreed.
Okay. We now move on to item 9, committee reports. And I'll hand over to Councillor Wicks at this point because we have 3 reports and they're all from the planning. So 9.1, 2 and 3.
Okay, good evening. So may I ask you all to receive the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meetings. The first one is on the 25th of February 2020 and is on pages 19 to 24 of your agenda. The second is on the 19th of May 2020, which is on pages 25 to 32 of your agenda. And the third one was on the 16th of June 2020, which is on pages 33 to 39 of the agenda.
Councillor Doyle has a hand up, Chair. First.
Thank you very much. I just want to draw all councillors' attention to something that my attention was drawn to regarding green spaces within our community. Wokingham Borough Council came to the planning community or planning committee asking us to identify green spaces within Woodley that frankly we want to protect in some way, because I just don't personally see any other reason for doing it. And the reason I'm raising this is that I don't know if all councillors have been made aware of it. I know that those of us that attend planning committee meetings have obviously been made aware of it. On the minutes of the 16th of June 2020, there is an Appendix B, which is an effort that was made by Carol Jewell to identify green spaces and respond to Wokingham Borough Council. Now, the first thing is that Wokingham Borough Council gave us bugger all time to respond to this properly. They gave us less than 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, we were meant to do quite a sophisticated response involving maps and the like. Now, we haven't had the opportunity to do that, but we have made some effort. And what I'm concerned about is I know of green spaces around me that you perhaps do not know about, and vice versa. And I think the entire council should be contributing to this list of green spaces within Woodley that we, Woodley residents, would frankly like to protect. So I'm drawing it to your attention. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have asked that there's information to go up onto the Woodley Town Council website to try and encourage some feedback as well from all the residents to go on to the document which Carol Jewell and David Bragg actually put together.
I think Linda may have some information there, Chair, sorry.
Linda?
I'm sorry, I don't have a virtual, because I'm a co-host, I don't have a virtual hand to raise, so sorry. All councillors were informed about this. When I issued the agenda for the Planning and Community Committee, I drew the attention of all councillors to that item and asked them to submit any areas of green space that they would like, you know, us to be considered. And in fact, I did have a response from Councillor Smith, so that has been done. And also, I can update you that when I did submit, because we only had 1 day to send our response after the Planning and Community Committee had met. So I did send in a response, but when I sent it, I explained that we would like more time to consider our response, and they have granted a time extension until the next Planning and Community Committee. I just haven't had time to notify the committee of that yet because it's only just come in. So that, as I was asked to do, I've done, and it has been granted, and I will notify everybody of that. And then that will give us time to put it on the website and ask residents if they've got any suggestions to make. But I just wanted to clarify that all councillors have been asked.
Councillor Jewell has hand up, Chair.
Councillor Jewell?
Thank you. It was on the item, oh, just dropped off where I had it in front of me, it's gone. Right, it's item 28 on page 35 of the last meeting, last Tuesday, 16th of June. There's an item about Reading Borough Council Transport Strategy Consultation, which we don't have to reply to for a little while, so we've got time to look at it. We considered it last meeting, and it's on the agenda and considered this meeting, but it seems that people cannot understand that it's a transport strategy consultation. Therefore, that part of it should be considered by the whole of the planning committee. What keeps happening is the word transport is there, and people think, oh, just shove it over to the Cycling in Woodley Working Party. Now, there is part of that transport strategy that does have a local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, and that's certainly something I will put on the agenda, the next agenda for the working group. But also, if anybody has read or looked at briefly that transport strategy consultation, there are some Woodley sites mentioned. It's really, excuse me, it's really important because we need to link up between this area and the Reading area. And my plea is that it isn't just yet again people do spend the time between now and the 14th of July to look at the consultation. Thank you.
Councillor Chadwick is next, Chair.
Oh, hello. Yes, it's that. I think it's the first set of planning minutes, page 20. It's just that 2 oak trees have been felled at 4 Phillips Close, and I just wondered what was wrong with them.
Do we know that?
We don't have that information. We don't know.
So was it Woking Borough that agreed that?
Yes, this is just, we're not consulted on these.
All right.
We just received notification that there's been an application.
I see. Okay, thank you.
There's no more questions there, Chair.
Oh. Okay, can I propose that we receive the minutes as presented? All those we take all three in one vote, unless anybody objects. So 9.1, 9.2 and 9.3 to receive the 3 sets of minutes. Can I raise your hand if you're in favour?
Okay, that's agreed.
Yeah, I didn't manage to find it in time. All right, turn over the page. Wait. Should have stapled these together, they got out of order. Item 10, right. Membership of standing committees is our next item. Under the provisions of the Coronavirus Act, the majority of the members currently serving on the council standing committees will remain in place for 2020-21. It is proposed that the membership of each standing committee will act as listed below. There are, however, a couple of amendments to the published minutes. So to the published agenda. Strategy and resources remains unchanged. Leisure services, I believe, is remaining unchanged. There's a couple of minor changes to community service, and a couple of them are also due to councillors joining, like Darren Smith. But so let's move on to 10.1, 2, 3, and 4. So we can discuss them if you need. Right.
Councillor Mills, I've got my hand raised.
Sorry,
I couldn't see it. It keeps moving around.
That's okay. Leisure services is changed. I've been added to it.
You've been added, have you?
And Councillor Dave Smith has been added to it.
Dave Smith?
Darren.
Darren, I do beg your pardon, Darren. It just says D. Smith. Can I just have that recognised?
Darren. So we're going to go through each one.
Chair, would you like me to read out the names for each committee?
So we'll start with strategy and resources.
So strategy and resources on the list here is Councillor Baker, Brindley, Anderson, Chadwick, Cheng, Gilder, McCann, Rowland and Wicks.
Okay, everybody be happy with that one? The list for 10.2 leisure services
is Councillors Bragg, Soane, Baker, Doyle, Green, Heap, Ramuni, Smith and Swaddle.
Okay, and for planning 10.3
is Councillor Wicks, Cheng, Baker, excuse me, Bragg, Forrer, Gilder, Jewell, McNaught, Mills, Ramuni, Councillor Skegg, and there's one vacant place on that committee.
Then we vote to approve the appointment of these members for the next year.
Councillor Baker has a hand raised. Sorry, I'm not sure if that was
Show
in
of
voting.
hands, please.
Hang on a sec. Just, it's a point of clarification. Councillor Kay Gilder is underlining she's new on the planning and community committee. No, she's been on since day one. She's a major contributor and we welcome her there.
If I can just clarify, Councillor Gilder is not currently on the planning committee. She's a new addition to the planning committee.
Apologies, I've got my names mixed.
How many are you seeing, Kevin?
Sorry, I've got some other hands up, but I'm not sure if that was in anticipation of voting or not. If someone has a question, could they leave their hand up? If not, could they lower it for me? That would be great. Okay, Councillor McCann has a question, Chair.
Oh.
Oh no, hand's gone down. So I think we're ready to vote on.
Did we get a count there?
No, we need to take the vote on those.
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me, Dave?
That's agreed.
That's agreed.
That's
Can
agreed.
you hear me, Dave?
Oh, I've got a lot more hands coming up now. I'm finally updated.
It's agreed. Councillor Mills, it's agreed.
I think Dave's screen is freezing, which is why he's a little bit behind.
Councillor Mills, can you wave at me if you can hear me? Okay, that's not helping us, is it?
Kevin?
Yes.
Have you recorded a vote?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing anything here.
No. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Dave Mills, can you wave your hand if you can hear us?
No, I don't think.
I'm going to have to rejoin the meeting by the looks of it.
Okay. Apologies to everyone. This is, of course, the frustration with this wonderful format. Hopefully, Councillor Mills will rejoin us very shortly.
Would you like me to sing you all a song while we're waiting?
If you know any, that would be fabulous.
You really wouldn't.
I can mute you. You can sing away. I can still mute you.
Could we not continue with the deputy mayor in the chair until he returns?
We can do that if.
Not if the mayor is actually going to be present.
Still
if
present.
The mayor's going to be present. He has to chair the meeting.
Yeah.
So I think we need to see if he can rejoin.
I think let's give him a moment and then can continue. thank you all for your patience, by the way, this evening. This is obviously quite challenging for everybody. So thank you.
All right, I think I'm back now.
Excellent.
Getting the participants window up again.
So, can you hear us, Dave?
Yeah, I went without. I completely went off the air as far as sound was concerned.
Okay. So we've taken the vote on the Strategy and Resources Committee.
Right. You're doing them one at a time.
I thought we'd done them all together.
Sorry, no, we did. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we did the 3. Yes. Apologies.
We need to move to item 11 now, please.
Right.
Sorry, can I just ask, are all the hands up a remainder from the previous vote, or does anyone have a question?
Yeah, there are a lot of hands up.
Okay.
Hands are going away now.
Councillor McNaught, do you have a question? No, we don't think so. Councillor Ramuni, do you have a question? No. And Councillor Jewell?
Yes, I've got a question.
Proceed.
Sorry, was that go ahead?
Yep.
Yep, okay. On item 11, under the title, it talks about the Coronavirus Act 2020 and says that members currently serving on the Council's working parties and subcommittees will remain in place for 2020-21. So I just want to confirm that that's going to be the case, that all those people that follow under 11.1, 11.2, etc., will be put into, will be elected. This agenda has been put onto the Town Council's website, so obviously the public, as far as they're concerned, this agenda item is as seen on the agenda. They're not aware of anything else. So I'd like to ask, I've got another question, but first of all on this one, I'd like to ask if the membership of the subcommittees and working parties below 11.1, etc., is going to stay the same.
Didn't quite catch that.
Which bit didn't you catch? Shall I sum it up for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Item 11, there's I think it's about 3 sentences worth, and it refers to the Coronavirus Act 2020 and talks about members that are currently serving on working parties and subcommittees will remain in place for the 2021 municipal year. Now that's an act, so it's law. So I presume that's what's going to happen. It's also an item that's been on the Town Council's website, so the public are seeing these people as being under these working parties. Could you please confirm that all those below in 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4 and 11.5 will remain the same, please?
Right.
Councillor Mills, I have got a motion to propose exactly on that topic.
Right. Proceed.
Thank you. As permitted by Standing Order 13A number 9, relating to motions not requiring written notice, the following is proposed: that the appointment of members to the Council's working parties and subcommittees for the 2020-21 municipal year be made in accordance with Standing Order 4F, i.e. reflecting the political proportionality of the members of Council. So can I just briefly explain why I'm proposing that, why we shouldn't be continuing the allocations as they are now? It's because that there has been change in political representation since the appointments were made last annual meeting. And what we should be doing is apportion places on the working parties for the current municipal year in accordance with the standing orders. That would actually impact two working parties. One, the Woodford Park Leisure Centre Regeneration Task and Finish Group, and the impact there would, Conservatives would lose one place and the Liberal Democrats would gain one place. It also impacts the Community Youth Partnership, where the Liberal Democrats would gain one place. The council has always done it on proportional representation, on the basis of groups, and we, because of the change, the election of Councillor Darren Smith, I believe we should be doing that again. All other committees and working parties are totally unaffected due to the number of places. So that is my motion. I would like to propose it, and I'm sure I've got a seconder.
Tom McCann's trying to say something. Kevin?
Yes, if I unmute.
Yeah, Tom McCann. Right, Tom?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Motions have to be subordinate to national legislation, and the Council's standing orders would undermine national legislation. In other words, the Corona 2021 Act. So I don't think we can even accept the motion as proposed because it undermines statutory emergency legislation. If I'm wrong, I would like the officers to explain to us why standing orders are superior to national legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. I think the principle of the Coronavirus Act that applies in this instance, that it was a change that was made to allow councils who were unable to have their annual meeting to give them the flexibility to continue with membership rather than try and have an annual meeting, which was going to be very problematic. My understanding is that the council, that gives us flexibility to do that, but the council, those councils that have been able to have an annual meeting or have a meeting like this to appoint to committees are still able to do that if they've been able to do it. So it was more of an allowance rather than telling you must keep the same memberships.
Can I respond, please, Councillor Mills?
Yes.
Can I point out that we have just passed section item 10, where we have made 1, 2, 3 changes. So it is a contradiction to say we can make 3 changes on item 10, but we can't make changes on item 11. I did take advice from the town clerk and the deputy town clerk on this matter before I submitted my motion.
Thank you.
Councillor Brindley has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Brindley. Wherever you are.
Sorry, I need to unmute.
Just seconding the motion.
Ah, there.
Surprise.
Do I have the votes then on
Can I interject? I would like to respond to this as well.
I want to respond.
Yeah, sorry, there's Councillor Sanjari's hand was up next, Chair. Sorry.
Can I speak?
Yes, sorry.
So the changes that have been affected, my name hasn't been mentioned as one of those people who's been affected. Does that still stand? when Councillor Baker mentioned who would be affected by it, he didn't mention me.
Keith,
Sorry, Councillor Baker, would you like to?
Okay, I was advised that your slot would be given to the Liberal Democrats. Now, if the Liberal Democrats want to give up their slot to you, I'm sure that's perfectly acceptable. But your slot has gone to them as per the rules and regulations in terms of proportional representation. The issue, Councillor Nader, is that you are a group of one, and by definition, that is not a group, and therefore you do not, or your party does not get any allocations at all. I'm afraid that's the way the standing orders work, but if the Liberal Democrats want to donate their slot to you, I would be perfectly happy on that.
Okay, so do you think that a consultation regarding those changes would have been not just courteous, but given that the legislation was the Coronavirus Act of 2020, that we had assumed this motion coming to us is the first time we'd heard of it, and as Councillor McCann said, that the expectation is that it would be the Coronavirus Act legislation would pass. So you were advised on this, but no one had consulted that with me. No one had brought this to us, and the agenda that we are working from today isn't actually what has been presented to us. So the agenda that was sent out to us isn't an accurate reflection of what we are discussing right now. Beyond explaining what happened in item 10, what happens in item 11, where you just, Councillor Baker, mentioned who was impacted. You didn't mention me. It's only when I raised the point that you said, yes, you will be affected, and it was the advice that you were given. On what grounds was this going to pass without consulting the people, or, you know, given that I would have been directly impacted, and the work that I've done on the community and youth partnership with everything. So it's not just beyond courtesy, but I am mandated and represent the people who not just voted for me, but who are in the ward that I represent. And this agenda that went out in the public domain and to us councillors isn't an accurate reflection of what we've got today, and it's just been changed at the last minute with no consultations with the people affected. Where we assumed, just to finish off, where we assumed that the legislation would be the overriding factor. It just means it just means that there's been very, very little transparency, with a lack of respect for the elected, mandated people to represent this community, instead of playing party politics.
Right, so I can tell you that all groups within the Woodley Town Council, groups, have been consulted. I have been in extensive consultations with Councillor Jewell, both via Zoom meetings and by email, and I have confirmation from her that she received my final suggestion. So the way this council has always worked, and all councils work, it works on groups. You look at the standing orders, if a group is there, it gets a proportion of the allocation across the whole council, but you cannot have a group of one. We have all suffered. I can tell you that the Conservative Party suffered that way about 15 years ago, but that is the standing order. So groups were fully consulted in terms of their leaders. What the leaders did with it, clearly I'm not in control, but obviously there's an expectation that the leaders of the groups would consult with their members.
But that we were presented with an agenda that mentioned the Coronavirus Act of 2020. So that is what we had to go by. Had this motion been brought to us in advance, then we could have at least prepared for it and understood it. I was a group of one last year when I was appointed to the Community and Youth Partnership. The Coronavirus Act says that what happened before is allowed to continue again, and you have brought this to this meeting only just now, over an hour into the meeting, to tell us that this change had come about. Beyond it being discourteous, it feels like you have acted completely out, against the legislation that happened, and without giving us the time, without giving the public knowledge that this was going to take place either. So last year I was a group of one. That hasn't changed. I was still appointed to the committee. The Coronavirus Act says that that is allowed to continue into 2021, but you have just presented us with something different and not even consulted the people that was going to be affected. And I think it's really quite discourteous and dismissive to just now mention all those who will be affected by it and not mention that it's affecting me. So had I not asked the question if it affects me or not, that this would have happened without the knowledge of perhaps fellow councillors who would have been made aware of the impact that this has on the representation on the Community and Youth Partnership and the qualification of people to represent youth and the interests of young people locally.
I will refer to Kevin, who's the professional here, who has advised us that your interpretation of this Coronavirus Act is not the one that the town clerk and the deputy town clerk has believes, and I'm not the professional, they are, so I'm afraid I must take their advice. Now, on the assumption that the leader of the Liberal Democrats consulted with their group, now I don't know because I'm not a Liberal Democrat, that actually means 23 out of 25 people were consulted. One of the two wasn't on any committees anyway. So yes, you are the one. And I've said the solution that you need to negotiate with the Liberal Democrats to give up one of their slots because they've taken your slot. If they want to do that, I'm perfectly happy. If they don't, then that's what the rules say. And we have been advised by the professionals, our town clerk and our deputy town clerk, that this is totally appropriate.
But we weren't given that opportunity to negotiate anything because you've just brought it to us now. And that's my point, that the agenda that we're working from isn't the agenda that was presented to us and wasn't the agenda presented to the public. So in the interests of transparency and respecting the mandate that we are all given as councillors and the expectation of the public, that I was on this committee and the Coronavirus Act that says that those on the committee and the agenda that has me on the committee listed, I haven't been removed. There's been no line under me to say that that would have been a change. You just presented that change to us now. So for all those reasons, you can say it's, and now you're telling me that I have to negotiate with the Lib Dems. When do you propose that happens in this council meeting now that we negotiate this? It's just not acceptable in my opinion. And like I said, it doesn't look good in terms of the representation on the Youth Partnership Committee. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not in a group. I've enjoyed thoroughly working with Councillor Doyle, who's not on the Community Youth Partnership and not a Labour Party member, Councillor Skegg the same. And I just think it's really unfortunate that this has happened like that. I don't think it's respectful of the public or the council.
Okay,
I'm not going to say any more.
Councillor Doyle has hand up next, and then Councillor Heap.
Thank you very much. I just find the action you've taken utterly unnecessary. I just don't for a moment believe your motivation. I think, Councillor Baker, that your motives are other than what you've stated. And from my point of view, you're removing from a working group probably the best qualified person within that group. That is the sole act of what you're doing. And I really am concerned about your motivation for doing this. I personally, as a Lib Dem councillor, will happily give up the place to Councillor Nada, Sanjari, and largely because she does a damn good job. and she is very well qualified to sit on this committee. And I've been in that committee with those people, and talk about stale and male. It's horrible, and it needs some new blood. I've said my piece.
Councillor Heap had his hand up next, Chair.
Thank you. Yes. First of all, we suspended standing orders last year. There's no reason why we can't do that this year. I don't see the problem with that whatsoever. And I am concerned about the motivation of this. The other concern I have is the message it puts out to the citizens of Woodley, that here's somebody that's clearly well qualified to be on this committee. Goodness, she's young, she's female, she's got kids, she's a teacher, and she's not white. Now, if you want the viewpoint of all sections of society, you need to cover all sections of society. And I find this most disturbing, this move, and I'm definitely against it.
Councillor Skegg has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Skegg.
Hi there. Yeah, I'd like to chip in. I mean, echoing statements already made. I think as a member of that partnership committee, you know, I found Councillor Sanjari's contributions the most relevant, the most interesting, and probably moved that conversation along the best. You know, I'll let my leader address any points about giving up places, because I don't think it's my place, but it's also, you know, that puts us in a slightly awkward situation with alliances and things like that, and I'm not quite sure how that works. The bottom line is, and I think I'll come back to a point that Councillor Sanjari made, it was in the minutes, the agenda, it was underlined, and to remove somebody from a committee without consulting them, or at least giving them a heads up directly, I just don't think it's cricket. Now, I'm not going to call into question anyone's motives. I don't think that's necessarily appropriate for the purposes of moving this along, but I don't see the value of the move. I think the status quo as it stands with a subcommittee like that was making some progress to shake it up for the purposes of you know, meeting a box, when I don't believe that the Liberal Democrat group asked for the place. Again, it just doesn't seem of value, and I think that's my point really. Not of value, and not cricket to fail to consult the council that was being removed. That's all I've really got to say on the point. But I feel quite strongly she should be on that youth partnership. I valued her input above all others in that room because of all of the statements that Councillor Heap made, but mainly because she's got a real passion for it. And I think losing that from the room would be ludicrous for the council to do that. And again, I'm a bit old-fashioned when it comes to doing things the nice and proper way. And I think Woodley Town Council is a nice, proper, friendly community that I just don't think it's necessary. Now, that's all I've got to say on the subject. That's me.
Councillor Swaddle has a hand up, Chair.
I also am a councillor who will be giving up their place. I'm on the Woodford Park Regeneration Group, and that place from Conservatives, the place I had, will be given to a Liberal. And my group leader contacted me and all the members of a group and asked us, to discuss this and to agree it. I don't know what's going on in the Lib Dems, if they don't have group meetings, if they don't, talk to each other. But, Keith, our leader, he discussed this with everybody, and I'm quite happy in the balance to give my place up to a Lib Dem. We are going to be voting on this motion. It's not a done deal. It's some emotion that's been brought to the meeting for all of us to decide on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sanjari, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all the councillors that spoke. I think, with really good reason and in the best interest of the community, and just shows how we are interested in cross-party work for the benefit of the community, and by far the youth, who have been massively underrepresented in this community. And I thank Councillors Doyle, Heap and Skegg for making those points. Councillor Swaddle, I think that's really just unfair and a bit out of line to suggest that this is a problem for the Lib Dems. They are a group. I don't see how they behaved improperly. Like I said, this was just brought to me today. As far as I'm concerned, none of the Lib Dems are council leaders that should have discussed this with me. They didn't even, it was Councillor Baker who just now didn't even mention that I would be impacted by this. Kevin, Murray.
Yes.
So is it wise for either I propose, or perhaps the Lib Dem, someone from the Lib Dems proposes that we suspend standing orders as we did, as Councillor Baker asked to do, in order to appoint me on the Community Youth Partnership group? So in the same way that Councillor Baker thought that that was a reasonable, good appointment on the committee because of my qualifications, at the last full meeting, can we vote to suspend it? And I would hope that the councillors who thought that Councillor Baker's move to suspend standing orders last time would support it this time, because nothing's changed other than the fact that I've put in a lot of effort on the Community Youth Partnership. I've made a lot of things move. In the time I was there, it's pushed Jack to survey the youth, something that's never happened in the 20 years that they've had that, as far as I was concerned. I've got the survey, I've made the contacts with the council. So in fact, if more than anything, in the last year since Councillor Baker's suggestion to suspend standing orders was moved by the council, I think nearly unanimously, if I remember correctly, more work has been done, and you're aware of the work I've done now since then. So can we do that? Either I propose it and I get a seconder, or I will ask someone from the Lib Dems to do that.
If I can just suggest what the process would be. We have a proposal already, the motion which would be voted on, which was Councillor Baker's motion to appoint on the basis of the political proportionality. So that could be voted on. If a further proposal was made to suspend standing order 4F in order to appoint yourself to one of the places. So if that's a Lib Dem place and one of them wants to propose that, technically that could be voted on in that way now. Linda, did you want to say something? Sorry.
We need to vote on the motion that's already been put before council. Yeah.
So the process would be to vote on the first one, and then if there's a proposer of a second motion, then we can vote on that one. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Shall we vote on?
Sorry, can I just be clear now? So if we are voting now to allocate places on committees specifically for party makeup.
Yes, so that motion is to appoint to the working parties to reflect the makeup of the council, which has the effect which was just discussed.
Okay.
So then if there's a second proposal which is for one of those places to be allocated to you, that needs a suspension of another standing order. Sorry, it's a bit of a process.
The second vote we do after we vote on this motion won't override the vote on this motion.
It doesn't override it, so technically the difference still happens because it affects two working parties. So the proportionality would then apply to those working parties if that's voted on. The second vote, if there's a proposal to do that, would be to suspend a standing order in order for somebody who's not entitled to a place to take a place in the same way as last year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Rowland has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Rowland.
Thank you, Chair. Before we do that, I'd like to ask the Leader of the Council a couple of questions. If the leaders of groups and the Labour group have now become a group, why wasn't NADA consulted on this during the leaders' discussions? And my second question is, what is different between last year and this year that you are not willing to suspend standing orders?
The answer to the first question, as you should know, Beth, because you're more experienced than I am on the town council, is Councillor Nada is not a group. She is one person. She is not a group. So you should know that better than anyone. And secondly, the change is that we have a new councillor who's taken the place of a deceased councillor, and therefore things are allowed to change in exactly the same way, as I said before, as agenda item 10 changed. People, you know, councillors cannot have it both ways. You can't say agenda item 11 should not change, but agenda item 10 can change. It can't be both. So
Please,
I hope I've answered your two questions.
No, you haven't, I'm afraid. You referred to Councillor Nada as a group, not me. She wouldn't be a group in my terms when I led the council. But out of courtesy, I might have consulted with her. But I don't see what's changed with changing one Conservative councillor for another.
Linda, can you help?
I can just clarify, the change is not that there was a by-election and Councillor Smith was elected. The change was that Councillor Majid Nagra left the Conservative Party and became an independent. That's what the change is. That changed the proportionality.
Thank you.
Councillor Jewell has a hand up next, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Jewell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm concerned, concerned about this motion that if we vote on it now, it actually negates anything else that might follow, because I'd like to propose a motion that we do suspend standing orders and we actually carry on as we have had before. It's in the minutes, it's part of the Coronavirus Act, and we've had lots of people supporting Nada, saying that she's a valuable member of that committee. If this motion that Keith is putting forward, which I had no notice of and voted upon, that will negate anything else. So I'd like to take some advice from Kevin on the process, please.
Okay, I think as there's a proposal been made, so that and seconded, so that needs to be voted on. That's the situation as it stands.
I second Carol's motion.
Okay, well, okay, the first motion would need to be voted on. And if there's a subsequent motion, then that could be voted on subsequently. Given that one motion is the polar opposite of the other, then the voting seems a little. But if that's what the council wants to do, it can vote whichever way it wants to do whatever it wants to do. In terms of the motion, one's been proposed, so that needs voting on, and if there is another proposal, then that could be voted on.
Shall we proceed to the vote then?
Sorry, there's still some hands up, Chair. It's entirely up to you. You have Councillor McNaught with a hand up next.
John, Councillor John McNaught. Can't see you.
Okay, we'll lower that hand. Councillor Sanjari.
Thank you. Councillor Baker, you said that the point is, you said that we vote that item number 10 passed without any proposed changes because it was reasonable. This only came to our attention when item 11 came up. We couldn't have known under item 10 that this issue would come up under item 11 because the agenda I was presented with had me on the community youth partnership. The agenda I was presented with was the same agenda that the whole council has been presented with. So we couldn't have opposed it at item 10 because we didn't know what you were going to say at item 11, where it was different to the agenda that we had. So that's why it passed at item 10, because we had no idea that this would happen at item 11. I feel like I'm going a bit mad, but I think it's important that if the political representations, according to the makeup of the groups, passes, if this motion passes, so that the changes that were already agreed on can remain, as long as that we can have a guarantee that in this, when we have this proposal to suspend standing orders, that would change as well. So the suspension of standing orders would only apply to something like the Community and Youth Partnership, so that things that have already agreed on can continue to be agreed on. But Councillor Baker, I repeat, we couldn't have known that this was going to happen at item 10.
If I can just interject and say we can't guarantee what the outcome of any vote on a motion would be, especially one that hasn't been proposed.
So does Councillor Baker's motion deliberately oppose the standing order suspension that he put forward and was agreed last year? So
right, sorry, yes, but if you wanted to do the same as last year, which is to make a proposal for one of those places to be allocated to somebody who doesn't have an entitlement to it, then that could be done afterwards. But the proposal that's been made has to be voted on.
So I will assume that as it was voted through the suspension of standing orders last year under Councillor Baker's request to suspend standing orders, that would pass, especially as it would only affect those groups who are willing then to give that up.
The wording of whatever proposal it was to suspend that standing order will need to be specific to that. Yeah.
Yes, specifically to the Community Youth Partnership, and it would be that it would be in line with what Councillor Baker had put forward last year. Effectively, I'm sorry, Councillor Baker, I don't remember the exact wording.
Yeah,
but it would allow the changes that have already been agreed on from item 10 before to stand, but a change can be made.
Yeah,
for item 11.
If I can help, if there's if someone is preparing a proposal or to make one, the wording is to vote on the suspension of standing order 4F in order to appoint a councillor who doesn't have representation on that working party. So that would be the vote, and then that's how it would have to happen. So I'm sorry, it's hard to second guess because I don't know if anyone's actually making a proposal or not at the moment. But we do still have to vote on the motion that's been proposed and seconded.
Well, this is the problem that I think we were all raising, that the agenda that was put to us was markedly different. The agenda that we were working from item 10 was different to item 11. So we didn't even have time to prepare it. And that's really unfortunate, and just really not good practice for a council that otherwise runs really well.
Okay, Councillor Jewell has a hand up, Chair. Yeah. I'm aware of the time, but
yeah, I was beginning to worry about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually saw Kay Gilder's hand up, so I was just waiting for her to speak. But if she's
you're first, Carol.
Oh,
sorry.
There you are.
Yeah.
I think it's all very clear what's going on, and as everybody has stated, nothing has changed in terms of wanting somebody on who hasn't got a place on that working group. I have actually made a proposal, Kevin, and it was seconded by Martin, and that is to suspend standing orders to allow that member, and that's quoting standing order 4F. Sorry, my voice is going. So what I don't want to do is to lose that option for that motion to be discussed. I don't know if we're going to discuss the existing motion, but
I think I think the two can be taken consecutively, so the first motion can be voted on. and then that second proposal can be made and voted on. So obviously, depending on how the votes go, both of those would be affected.
Okay then.
Have I explained that? Sorry.
Move on to the vote.
So, Councillor Baker, could I suggest you repeat the proposal, because that was some time ago that
it was. I can't even remember it.
Okay, can I also propose that we extend the meeting till 10:30, because we have a lot of business
We've
to.
got at least an hour work to do.
So that's obviously got to be voted on. So right, I will say the motion that the appointment of members to the council's working parties and subcommittees for the 2020-21 municipal year be made in accordance with Standing Order 4(F), i.e. reflecting the political proportionality of the members of council.
All those in favour, raise a hand.
That's agreed.
Okay. Are there any further motions? Tom McCann. I can't see. I can just see the hand.
Bear with me a second. Let me lower everyone's hand for just a second, and then we'll.
Mr. Chairman, you haven't taken a vote against. You have not taken a vote against the motion.
Do we want to? I mean,
Yes.
I was waiting for Linda.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Those against then? Raise a hand.
Could I have my vote recorded, please?
Dave, your hand is still up.
I would like my vote recorded as well, please.
Okay. If everyone can keep their hand up if it's up, please.
Please record all our votes.
It's going to take me a while. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if everyone could leave their hand up, because Linda does need to just make sure she gets those down. Thank you.
I'd like my name recorded as
Yeah,
well.
I'd record them all, but it takes me a while to do it, obviously.
Thank you. I understand.
Sam? Is he here?
Why are you telling him how to vote?
Well, he has voted, but I can't see him.
Oh,
there's Sam.
That doesn't matter. You can't see others.
So I've got 6 against.
Have you recorded mine?
There should be 8.
I can see 7.
Yeah, I think this is the trouble. You can see different numbers on different screens. You have to be very careful.
Well, I count Sib Sims, 1 Labour and 1 Independent. That's 8 people. It's not difficult.
I can count 7 plus
I haven't
Majid
got
there.
Councillor Nagra. I haven't got his hand showing here.
No.
I have kindly record my vote against.
You need to vote, Majid.
Yes, there is my hand.
Okay, for these purposes, I think we'll accept that as a hand.
Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah.
At least we haven't got to drive home.
I've got 8 against.
Okay, have you got that, Linda? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to just lower everyone's hand again. Bear with me. Okay.
Right, everybody's hands down. We'll move on now. Is there another motion?
Councillor Jewell.
Councillor Jewell. You're on mute.
God, got to go through that again. I'd like to propose as the motion to suspend standing orders so that under 4F and therefore allow a place on the CYP as stated in the agenda and as publicised, And I think I have a seconder in Martin.
You do. Seconded.
Seconded, right.
Okay, so we need to take a vote on the suspension of that standing order.
So can you put your
I'm
hand
sorry,
up
there's
there?
is there a question there? Sorry, Councillor Baker and Councillor Skegg have got a hand up.
Right.
It's just really a clarification. The motion as put is adding an extra slot onto the community youth partnership. If that is the scenario, I'm afraid I can't support that proposal.
Sorry, Carol, just to be clear, can I just confirm that proposal was to create an extra place on the community youth partnership rather than to provide one of the Liberal Democrat places to Councillor Alison Sanjari?
It wasn't either of those.
It's to suspend standing orders, so that because standing orders is talking about the makeup of a committee and the places according to the politics, etc. And I'm asking for a suspension of those standing orders so that the political makeup or ratio isn't an issue.
Can I just clarify? Are you proposing that the membership be as in the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. Well done.
So the membership as in the agenda was the same proposal as Councillor Baker did last year at when these nominations were made. So it's to create, my understanding was it is to create an extra space rather than the Conservatives had given up a space to accommodate me.
No, it's not to create an extra space. There are still 6 places. It's as it in the agenda. We're voting to suspend standing order 4F to allow you to have that place because you don't qualify for that place. So, and it would in fact be a Liberal Democrat place that was being given up because they qualify to receive 2 places and they will only have 1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Najid.
Yeah, I just want to say only one thing to Keith Baker. During last 1 year, you have said many times that there is less politics in Woodley Town Council. Today, you are going to prove it. It's possible that you will win this vote, but kindly then don't say again that there is less politics, party politics. If you believe that there is less party politics, then this is time to prove. Thank you.
Thank you. So, do we stand with the motion to suspend standing order? I can't remember the letter now.
4F.
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 Yeah.
Can I have votes for those that are prepared or would agree to suspend standing order 4F?
That's 9, Linda, with Majid.
Okay. Sorry, I just need to make sure I get the right names.
Yeah, sorry.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've only got 8. Is that because Councillor Nagra is voting?
Yes, as Councillor Nagra is indicating, yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, so I've got 9. So we need to lower those hands and then we need to take the votes against.
Okay.
Okay, votes against.
Are these votes recorded as well, please?
Yes, I'm recording. Sorry, that's what's taken the time. I'm recording them.
You should note that Michael Farrer has voted.
Yes, I know. I've just reached that. So Councillor Farrer has voted twice.
I thought he'd seen the light.
And Councillor Smith, I don't have. Have I missed Councillor Smith?
Can't see him.
Okay, is Councillor Smith here?
He's not on the delegate list by the looks of it.
He was there a moment ago.
He's probably nipped off to the little boy's room.
Okay, I'll have to record him as abstaining then, if he's not voted.
I can see him right now.
Well, yeah, but he's not voted.
Is he on the list? I can't
see him on the delegate list.
He's not there.
I think he's dropped out. He was there a little minute ago.
I think he must have lost connection or something.
I'm going to have to mark him as abstaining then. Councillor Farrer, how do you wish to vote? Councillor Farrer there?
Darren, you need to vote.
No, Councillor Farrer. Michael Farrer has voted twice.
I can't unmute his microphone.
Michael, you need to unmute it.
Councillor Smith is there again.
So I'm back, is he?
I lost connection for a minute. Did I miss a vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you wish to vote?
Can you repeat the proposal, please, so I can know what I'm voting?
It was the proposal to suspend Standing Order 4F to allow the Community Youth Partnership membership to be as listed in the agenda.
Yeah, I've already voted for that one.
Sorry?
I've already voted for that one.
Right, you dropped off before I could record your
right,
vote.
okay, I voted against.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how Councillor Farrer wishes to vote on this, so can I take that as a spoiled vote if he's voted?
I don't think he can get his thing unmuted, so you might want to ask him yes or no, because he is listening to you and waving at you. Just you need to know when he's waving.
I can't see him.
Yeah, I'm just trying to he's fallen off my screen.
It's different on every screen, so I can't help.
I can see him. If it helps.
Councillor Farrer, can you put your hand up if you wanted to vote for? Voted for that motion. Okay. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for. And 15 against. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, Councillor Saltarell. Okay, 9 for, 16 against.
Finally get on this.
The motion is defeated.
So, motion is to see if we stand following the standing order with the amended memberships. Right.
Councillor McCann, I think, wishes to speak.
Oh, thank you, Tom. You're muted, Tom.
Okay. Okay, got it. Green light's on. Can I just confirm, please, through the Deputy Clerk, that irrespective of the motion to suspend standing orders, the Liberal Democrat can nominate whoever we like as our representative on there. Can you confirm that, please?
I believe it needs the suspension of that standing order for F to allow a member who doesn't have entitlement to have one of those places to take one of those places.
So, yeah, sorry, I'm just clarifying. Are you saying only a member of the Liberal Democrats can take that? Is that what you're saying in the rules? Are you? I'm pretty sure we can nominate whoever we choose. Or are you saying I'm wrong? Either way, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I believe that unless that standing order is suspended, which was what that vote was, then yes, those places, it would be a Liberal Democrat place.
What happens if we do not nominate someone to take up that place? That place cannot be filled by another member of the council, even if they wish to attend on their own merit.
They wouldn't be a member of that working group, no. So that they wouldn't be a member unless voted.
But they can attend though, yes?
All councillors can attend all meetings and working party meetings, yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Chair, Councillor Swaddle has a hand up.
Alison Swaddle.
I'd just like to point out it's 9:59 p.m. Are we taking a vote on extending this meeting?
We already have.
Yes. No, we haven't.
No, we haven't
not. Voted.
We haven't voted on it.
I did.
Keith proposed it, and you said we'd come back
Keith
to
opened his mouth, but Keith talked, but can't propose it.
Can I?
He's in the middle of another motion.
All right, we'll do it again. We've got at least half an hour's work if we're quick. So can I propose that we extend the meeting from beyond 10 to 10:30?
I propose it again.
Sorry?
I propose it again.
I'm happy to second that.
Okay. Much I hate doing this, but yes.
Are we voting? Because the hands were still left up. I'm not clear.
No, we're voting to extend the meeting.
There were still some hands up. People wanted to speak.
Okay, we'll need to take the vote first because it's now 10 o'clock, but we can.
Until we extend.
That's carried, isn't it?
That's agreed, assuming that everyone whose hands up are voting to extend the meeting. So that's agreed.
So the meeting is extended for another half an hour.
Okay, yeah. If I lower all hands, and if there were a couple of councillors who had a hand up, Carol, I think you're one of them, to ask a question. Actually, Councillor Heap is top of the list there.
No, I took mine.
Oh, okay, no problem. Councillor Brindley.
Councillor Brindley.
Sorry, no, I was just voting for the extension.
Okay, Councillor
Jewell. That's
Jewell.
been decided.
Councillor Jewell.
Thank you. I've got an item to raise within number 11, the working parties. And that, excuse me, that is on the Climate Emergency Working Party. The emergency was declared last October, and the very nature of the word suggests that things would move along quite quickly. I think it was October, November, December, 4 months after that, a working party was finally put together. And now 3 months on, that working party still hasn't met. Could I ask if there is a different definition of emergency that everybody else has, or that they have, as I have? Because that working party needs to meet. It could be called by the chairman, who is Keith, and it's not happening.
Can I respond, Carol? I'm waiting for Kevin. Sorry about this, Kevin, but I'm waiting for Kevin to give us a list of actions that he's got either underway or planned. And I have been asking for it for some time. I think Kevin will confirm. I think the pandemic has delayed things dramatically, but I'll let Kevin respond.
I will get that to you as soon as possible. And yes, that is correct. And yes, with the best will in the world, it's not been as urgent as it should be. I'll get that to you, Councillor Baker, and we'll get a meeting in the diary as soon as possible.
Thank you, Kevin. Can you send it to all 3 members, please, ASAP?
Yeah, of course.
Can I just say that that's all very well, passing the buck, as it were, but there are a lot of items that could be discussed, because we have information from Woking Borough as to what they're doing on climate emergency. There's been a couple of meetings, neither of those have been reported to the working party. We don't need that list. We need to get the working party set up and looking at what it should be doing and actually have some action.
Okay, yes, we'll arrange that working party very shortly, Councillor Jewell. I'll get something out in the diary very soon. Councillor Doyle has a hand up.
Can I just clarify?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Linda. Yeah, go ahead.
I just need to clarify the membership of the 2 working parties that weren't agreed then. So should I record the Woodford Park Leisure Centre Regeneration Task and Finish Group as having 1 vacant place, or do the Liberal Democrats want to appoint to their place? And also the Community Youth Partnership will have 1 vacant place.
No, can I jump in here? I mean, I don't know what's going on. I've lost track of things. Councillor McCann asked you, Kevin, what the situation was regarding the remaining place on the Community Youth Partnership.
Yeah.
You stated that that can only go to a Lib Dem person. Is that what you said?
Because of the apportionment, there's an entitlement for the political parties for a certain number of places.
Right.
So
that's all understood.
Yeah.
I'm afraid what is worrying me now is that Councillor Baker clearly said that if the Lib Dems were to offer their place to Councillor Nada, he would have no objection to that, either as the leader of the council or as the leader of the Tory group on the council. So surely he said all that before we took a vote.
That matter has been voted on, Chair. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, this is recorded. Could we make sure that this meeting goes up on our wherever it goes up? I know you're recording it because I can see we're recording it.
That's right. Yes, I did state that.
Sorry. Can I just say something? At the start of this, it was never mentioned that it was always said that if from the motion that Councillor Baker put forward, that the political apportionment would still stand. Now, if the political parties want to give up, want to nominate someone for their spot, that they could do that. That was always allowed. We were told that that was allowed to pass at the very beginning, that they were nominating people, not necessarily political parties, but the political parties had the allocations. What they did with that was up to them. And now it seems to have changed. And if that's the case, then I would really like for the Lib Dems not to give up the place at all. Thank you for the solidarity. I really appreciate it. And I will continue and I want this recorded. I will continue to represent Woodley youth. And I want this minuted as well, that I will continue representing Woodley youth regardless of which committee I'm on. And I continue to look forward to working with all the councillors who are interested in that, but in particular I've been working closely with Councillor Doyle and Councillor Skegg. So please, I would like the Lib Dems to take up their place if now mid-meeting it's been decided that it can't go to anyone else, which has changed since this meeting. This rule is, I don't know, I think we need more clarity on that. We were told at the start that the Lib Dems could allocate whoever they wanted, and in fact Councillor Baker put the onus on the Lib Dems about what happened to me, rather than the leader of the council himself not consulting me and not raising it earlier and it not being a correct agenda item. Okay, it's not the Lib Dems' fault. I'd like that noted.
Okay. If I can just clarify, the standing order 4F would need to be suspended in order to appoint somebody who doesn't have an entitlement, and that was not voted for.
Can we leave that then?
Chair, I'm just aware, obviously this is a very important issue. We do have the statutory accounts to be agreed this evening in order to send those for external audit. Otherwise we'll need to convene another meeting to do that.
Right, do you want to move to another agenda item?
Entirely up to you, Chair.
You're the chair.
You do have a couple of hands up, but entirely up to you, Chair, of course.
God's sakes.
Can't see hands. Carol, Jewell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd fully support what Nada's saying, and I think we should take note of this is how you conduct yourself. It's not about the politics, it's about representing your people and getting on with a job that you enjoy and you're good at. There was a question of the Lib Dem place on the, I keep forgetting how that CYP, and also the Regeneration Working Party. I'd like to propose that Alex Heath is the Lib Dem nomination for the Working Party, the Woodford Park Regeneration Working Party. As to the other one, having been so-called consulted, but we've had this motion sprung upon us tonight with no pre-warning, no time to discuss as a group, I would like to declare a vacancy, a Lib Dem vacancy at the moment on that committee, please.
Carol, sorry, I confused. I'm already on that committee. On Woodford Park, yeah.
Okay, so, okay, can I declare a vacancy on both of those and we'll sort it out? I do beg your pardon.
Okay.
Okay, then, there's another hand up for Nada.
No, my point was that I'd already made my point, but I was hoping that maybe Councillor Doyle, who's really passionate about youth services in Woodley, would continue doing the work in perhaps a more official capacity, despite attending all the community youth partnership meetings. But that was my point, that I wanted it noted that I am grateful to the Lib Dems for trying, but I would definitely like for them to take their place on that committee. It's important.
Okay, thank you. Are you prepared? Do you propose that we move to whatever number it is further down the agenda?
Yes, for God's sake, before we get something.
It's up to you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, David, we need to move to the next agenda item, David, so that's
Right.
quickly.
I didn't hear that.
We need to move to the next agenda item.
Yeah, what
We need to approve those working parties and subcommittees.
Okay, then that's what you want to do. We will end up with another meeting. So, current representatives on outside bodies remain in place.
We need to vote.
Have we voted?
To approve the working parties and subcommittees, item 11.
Oh, right. Okay, I can't. Seek the council's approval for the working parties and subcommittees. Can I have a vote, please? Those in favour, raise their hand. Oh, gone. Oh, have you got that, Linda? Oh, Linda's disappeared.
I'm here again now.
Oh, you're gone up there now? All right.
I'm here now.
Yeah. Have you got that vote?
That's agreed.
Okay, thank you. Item 12. Sorry? All right, it's just a cough. Item 12 is the next item on the agenda. Representatives on outside bodies. The current representative on outside bodies remain in place for 2020-21 municipal year. The current representatives on outside bodies are listed below. Members are asked to approve the membership. I'm not going to read through the list of them, but unless anybody's got anything, we can take a vote for the whole lot.
Councillor McCann has put his hand up to speak.
Thank you. Where have you
Bye.
gone now? Oh, I see. You're muted, Councillor McCann.
Okay, I'm just trying to find the button. Ah, for God's sakes. Sorry. Good.
You're now showing as muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can somebody put their thumbs up that people can hear you? Because half the time you sat there, you don't know if people can hear you or not. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm getting extremely frustrated with the process that we're going through here. It seems like there's a complete lack of control from the chair, a lack of awareness of the process through the officers. Now, whether this is a technical issue or not, this is becoming a painful experience to sit and participate through. Are there one of three things that should happen? I'm not blaming the officers, I understand there's technical issues. The members need to upskill their skills on this process. The chair has to learn how to do the job as the chair, or we all have to start working a bit more as a team, because quite frankly, if this is what's going to happen every time we come to a meeting, I think you'll find less and less people will come to it. It's just not working. Again, we've had a vote where no one was asked to vote. Those who voted against it, we went straight to an officer saying it was passed when only those who voted in favour. It's absolutely shocking. It really is. Now, I'm going to leave it there. I know the officers have issues, and it's a new thing. Members have issues, but quite frankly, this is becoming painful. I've finished at that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, for memberships of outside representatives of outside bodies, the list is published there. Can I have the approval to maintain that list? Those in favour?
Chairman, you've still
Chairman, I need to speak. Yeah.
All right, I haven't seen that yet.
Well, I've had my hand up for 10 minutes and I'm flapping half an arm in the air.
Yeah,
That's
but
my new skill.
in the same place all the time. Beth Rowland.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask a question about this. As a new member of the Pawsland charity, and incidentally, I have sent in my report, but it's too much for this meeting. Why councillors Jenny Cheng and Mrs Sheila Flower were appointed to the Pawsland Committee before this meeting? How was that achieved if this meeting is the appointing meeting?
No, they haven't been appointed. If you look on your agenda, it says Councillor Cheng and Mrs Flower to be reappointed. It says on the agenda. That's what
I
we're
realise
voting on.
that, Linda, but the Pawsland charity have had it confirmed to
No,
them.
they haven't. I haven't written to them. They have not had it confirmed.
Jenny Cheng will confirm that she's had her form to be re-elected, completed it and let it back, and so has Sheila Flower.
Well, I haven't written to the Pawsland charity to tell them who our representatives are, the ones that need to be reappointed. I don't know.
That needs to be sorted out then, because Jenny will confirm that at our last meeting, she had received her form, filled it in and sent it back.
I did do that, yes.
This is getting hard.
Anything else? There's another hand up, Philip Wicks.
Councillor Swaddle has a hand up next in line, Chair.
Okay, Councillor
No,
Alison.
sorry, mine was left up from voting.
Okay. Janet Sartorial, you wanting to say something?
No. So that leaves Councillor Forer has a hand up.
Michael Forer.
Yes. I didn't put my hand up.
Did you have something to say, Michael?
No.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Chairman, can I ask that my question is actually sorted out and to see how the charity have misunderstood what's going on? I'd like, I mean, I know it's happened. I'd like to know how. If Linda hasn't confirmed them, have they jumped the gun?
Can I just ask if we vote to see if they're going to be reappointed? That might make reflect how we might deal with it.
Okay, shall we vote on that?
Before we do that, could we ask if, before we ask them to be reappointed, we check their attendance at meetings?
Well, that will take some time and would mean that it wouldn't be votable today.
No, but it is relevant to putting someone on a committee meeting. If they don't go, then what's the point of putting them on?
Right. Well, Linda, if we're to do that, how long will it take?
Perhaps it goes on the next agenda, Chairman.
They have been put forward and have said they're willing to stand. So it's up to committee whether they want to, up to council whether they want to reappoint them or not.
Right.
I'd like to know.
They're willing to stand.
Yeah, but I'd like to know if we're appointing someone that's being active.
Well, I can't answer that question.
No, but perhaps we delay the vote then until we can answer it.
Not quite sure what our correct procedure should be here, because technically they would be suspended.
Those are the two representatives who are standing. So I think we have to vote on those because they're standing.
The two standing, me and somebody else. I can't remember who.
No, it's not you, Dave. It's Sheila. You and I were appointed last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before I vote for them, and in fact, I won't vote for them until I know that they are carrying out the role that they're appointed to do.
Well, I can't think the my way forward here.
Well, if Councillor Rowland wants to abstain on the vote, that would be the way forward, wouldn't it?
Okay.
No, I don't want to abstain. I want to vote against.
Okay, all right, sorry then, vote against. Yeah, okay.
Whatever. Then in that case, we'll move to on to the vote for.
There's another hand up, Dave.
Sorry?
There's another hand up.
Councillor
Oh,
Swaddle.
sorry, Alison, yeah.
Rather than making, suggestions about a councillor's record, I think Councillor Rowland could easily have found this evidence, if it exists, and brought it to the meeting tonight. I think it's quite unfair to imply that a councillor's record might be questionable. If you're going to question it, bring that evidence and present it to us. Also, we are now going to have to vote separately on section 12, and we only have 7 minutes and an important financial report to look at.
Which will take more than 5 minutes anyway.
Perhaps it ought to be part of our normal procedure to check that if we appoint someone to a committee, they actually attend meetings of the committee.
Yeah, the way you do that, Beth, it's Darren here. The way you do that is you submit the reports in a timely fashion and make sure that the clerks have them. If you don't do that, then obviously this has been brought up before. I don't know why we're talking about it now.
No, Darren, you're missing my point.
Yeah, I don't understand your point actually.
No, I'm not saying there aren't reports from the committee meetings. What I'm saying is that to make a report, people need to be at the meeting.
That's why they make the report.
Sorry, I don't agree.
Yeah, I do.
You're not in the meeting. You don't know whether they're there or not.
If they make a report, then they've been there. Can we get on with can we get on and vote for this, please? I don't want any more delays. Thank you.
Well, with the exception of the Paulans.
Oh.
Well, we can vote on that one as well, can't we? For the other items,
I'd like my objection to this to be recorded, Chairman, on the grounds that we don't know the people are doing the work that we're appointing them to do.
Yeah, I was going to do that as a separate item then. So the Paulans charity will be done separately. The membership
And member by member.
And member by member.
Yeah, there are 2 people to appoint.
Yeah, can we take the vote? Can we take the vote, and then can we vote on a proposal that Councillor Beth wants to make?
Well, I think I'm going to take the votes for the membership on the Paulans charity for Jenny Cheng and Sheila Flower, and then do a vote for all the other memberships in the list. So first of all, can we have a vote as to whether or not Councillor Jenny Cheng should be appointed to the Paulans charity?
This is a named vote, I take it, a recorded vote, yeah?
You want a named vote?
Yes, that's been requested. So if everyone can keep their hand up, please.
Okay, have you got that?
Yeah.
Linda? Where are
Yeah.
you?
Against?
Against?
Okay, let me just lower hands. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Okay.
Any votes for against Jenny Cheng being a member? appointed as member?
Right. Janet Sartorell's got her hand up and she's already voted for.
Janet? Okay, now we move on to Sheila Flower. All those that think we should appoint Sheila Flower to the Poor Lands Charity Committee, raise their hand. Who got that?
Okay, I've got 24
Okay.
for. Councillor
Well,
McNaught hasn't voted.
Who?
All right, 2 haven't voted, 24 for. That's okay.
Okay. Those against?
Sorry, Chair. Can you just give me a chance to lower hands and then ask for that vote again?
Yes, sure. Lots of hands.
Okay. You'd ask for that vote again.
Those against? Sheila Flower being appointed.
Okay, there are none against.
There's one hand up, Linda. Councillor McNaught.
John McNaught's got his hand up.
Oh, right, okay.
No, it was a mistake.
Okay.
Okay.
None against. Okay. Right. For the rest of the outside bodies, can we take the list as read? Who's in favour of appointing the same names?
Okay, that's agreed.
Right. Agreed. And we've run out of time, I think. We've only got 1 minute left.
Councillor Jewell has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you. I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, I think the rest of the agenda is too important to rush, even if somebody wanted to stay here till 11 o'clock. And I propose that we actually defer that to another meeting, but would point out that actually a lot of the time was taken up tonight by a motion that none of us knew anything about. It incurred an awful lot of discussion, and if everything had been in the agenda and up front, we might have been a bit quicker. Thank you. I'll need a seconder for that proposal.
What was the proposal?
Was to finish the meeting now and reconvene as soon as.
I missed that bit.
I don't think you need to do that, Carol.
We can't continue.
Can't continue. It expires.
Well, it's really let's get on with it. And if we're finishing, let's finish. But I wanted to make the point about why we're this late.
We're going to have another emergency committee meeting to discuss this, the finances. As Kevin pointed out,
agreed.
About an hour ago.
Yeah, it's urgent.
Okay, so with that, I'll bring the meeting to an end. It's closed. We'll arrange another date in the next few days to have a continuation for the items not covered, item 13 onwards. Okay, everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to the staff.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Congratulations,
Thanks,
Councillor Mills, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Dave.
Oh,
congratulations, Dave.
It's difficult doing this for the first time.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Well done, Dave. Yeah, well done, Dave.
Well done, mate.
10 out of 10, Dave.
Right. I shall say cheerio. Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Good night.
Cheers.